everyone, it's Misty, and I'm so excited to be here with Stephanie Organis, and we're going to show you her beautiful Wandering fabric line and the quilt that goes with it. So like I said, I have the pleasure of having Stephanie here with me. Stephanie, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Oh, hi, Misty.
Hi.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm just so glad you could make it.
This is such a dream. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get started quilting and designing fabric? You want to tell everybody a little bit of your backstory?
Yeah, sure. I started sewing when my first daughter was born.
Okay.
Well, a couple of months later, like I needed to get like a creative outlet again. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a graphic designer, and I felt the need to learn something new. Like I always like to create things and to make things by hand and like handmade. Yeah. I love like all the crafts like scrapbooking and knitting, and so but I always felt like a little bit like the sewing machine, I felt like a little bit nervous. Like
it's a big piece of machinery.
I felt intimidated by it.
Yeah.
So I found a beautiful quilt shop that is near my home in Mexico City, and from there, like I decided to learn.
Okay.
This store is beautiful. You have to come
one
day in
I
Mexico
will visit
City.
one day soon.
So they teach me everything. They teach me how to sew, and that I started like a small project with a little quilted bear.
Okay.
And from there, I was hooked. Like I started learning on my own. Watch all your videos. Well, Jenny's videos. It was amazing. Yeah. And I started sewing. I started my own, like a small brand. That's how I call it. It started Pretty Please.
Yes.
And I started doing like small quilted pouches and things for the diaper bag, and most to organize my kids' stuff, like for when you go to the classes.
I was going to say, we know kids have so many things, so
exactly.
You just have to keep it all organized.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So I started doing that, and I personalized like the small bags and the pouches and everything. And from there, I started doing like, selling them online, and then doing like small bazaars, like how you call them here, like small markets.
Yes.
And then I realized that what I really love, it's the fabric.
Yeah.
Like I traveled here to the US. I went to QuiltCon a couple of times, and I started buying all this beautiful fabric. And then I realized that, well, with my background that I'm a graphic designer, that there's someone behind these fabrics. And I was like, no, I want to start doing and creating my own and designing. So I started drawing and doing like all the samples for myself, like printing them in spoon flour and making samples. And then it just happened. I joined Andover, and I'm so happy that it really became
I'm so happy too. This
collection
is absolutely beautiful. So this is your first official line with Andover.
Yeah.
It's called Wandering, and I think you guys are just going to fall in love with all of these prints. And she's designed this great beginner-friendly pattern to go along with it.
Yes.
And I think we're going to walk you through that.
Yeah.
All right, Stephanie. So tell me about this beautiful collection.
Well, for Wandering, I wanted like a really fresh collection, like with beautiful colors. I'm all about pinks, so I really went from light pinks to hot pinks to teals, mustards. Those are like all my colors. I have a lot of Yule tones, purples as well. And well, you're gonna see different florals around the collection. This is like the main print.
So pretty.
It has some poppies, and then these are marigolds. This is the other one, and well, you have butterflies.
So pretty.
We have tiny flowers. I went from tiny flowers also
all the way to the big
ones.
All
the way to the big ones.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Also dogwoods. I love these ones as well.
I love the dogwoods.
This is like a secondary print, but I love it.
Well, it's just so fun how all of the textures work together to create such a beautiful palette, and the colors that you chose I just think are really stunning. Like I especially love the little bit of reds and greens that you've thrown in there. It just really ties it together so beautifully.
Yes, I wanted something to be like very organic, but also it has like geometric, like this one.
Yeah.
Over here, that like it makes contrast.
Yeah.
That you have the organic, and also for the backgrounds, well, this is the ones that we are going to use for a quilt.
Yeah.
But we have two light backgrounds. But I really wanted like to make it like very like a happy collection, like very joyful to people to have fun with it, and to make heirlooms for them, and I don't know, enjoy sewing with it.
Well, I know I have enjoyed it. It's just truly beautiful. And sometimes when you work with fabrics, it just kind of makes your heart sing, which I think this one really does.
Exactly. And yeah, I want people to want to use all of the prints, like the blenders. I think the blenders work great, and
they do.
That's why also like the Wandering Quilt has like all the prints in the collection. Like I want people to use all of them
and see how great they work well together.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of projects that you can make with it, and like for this ones, the flowers, I want to like to embroider, and you can do bags. We have some examples over there.
Yes.
I don't know if you see it, but yeah, that was made by a friend. She helped me sew it, and yeah, I think the possibilities are endless, and I really hope people enjoy it. And this collection comes from my heart. Like it's a dream come true to be a fabric designer for this industry, especially. So yeah, I want to transmit that joy in my collections. So
you've done it. You've done a great job.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Okay, so to make the quilt, we're gonna need you can make it with a 5/4 bundle, and we're gonna use for the background. We have two light backgrounds. This one has a little bit of mustard and light pink. You need 1 yard of each.
Okay.
Because we're gonna alternate between blocks.
So you just get some variety in the background, which is really fun. And you can get this free pattern that walks you through the fat quarter friendly version of this. It's just called Wandering. It's available thanks to Andover, and we will link to it for you so that you can print that off. But when I was given your fabric, I didn't get a fat quarter bundle. I got a layer cake. And so I was like, well, I love this quilt that Stephanie's designed, and I would love to make it. And so I decided to challenge myself and figure out how to make it with a layer cake. And so you can see, you can still make this block. It's just a little bit smaller.
The original one is 12 inches.
Yeah.
And Misty.
Yeah, and so this one is 11. So I think unfinished, this one measures 12 and a half.
12 and a half.
And unfinished, this one measures 11. And so you can see it's just gonna alter the size slightly, but the construction is exactly the same. Yeah, so let's walk you through how to make it with the layer cake, since that's what I have here. And just remember, you'll follow these exact same methods if you're using the fat quarter version. Okay, so now for each block, we have selected 2 prints and 2 background 10-inch squares. And so I have those ready to go here. I'm using this red to make the half square triangle portions of the block. So we're gonna start, those are the ones that are in
this one over here.
Yeah, in the corners, and then we'll have a solid center square as well. So let's begin with that. And so I just started by cutting this in half. So I'm making a...
So we get a 5-inch square.
Exactly. So we'll cut both of those.
Okay.
And then we can pull it apart and cut it the other way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, too far.
You're all right. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect. And so 2 of those, just like that, is what we're going to use to make the half square triangles. And so we'll just flip this over so our fabrics are right sides together.
And we have to draw a line in the middle.
Exactly.
A
diagonal line.
Okay.
So if you want to do that.
Yeah.
So she's just marking that diagonal line, and then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away on both sides of that line. So I'll go ahead and start doing that.
Thank you, Misty.
Of course. And I can just chain piece these one after the other. So I'll slide this next one in behind. And then we'll flip this around and go down the other side. so now if we want to trim right on that same line that we drew, we can cut those apart. And this is going to give us our half square triangles.
Yeah, and almost our block is almost finished.
Right? So simple.
Yeah, I really wanted this quilt to be beginner friendly. I mean, it looked like that it has like a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, the contrast is what makes it like more intricate, but at the end it's pretty...
It's made up of simple blocks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just the half square triangles and the hourglass. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I use the block lock to square. I don't know if that's what you use, but okay.
Work. Yeah.
So then we'll press these to the dark side so the seam goes to the dark, and then we'll square these up. And so for this smaller version, we're going to be squaring the half square triangles to 4 inches. And so as soon as you get one pressed, I can start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Perfect. And so with the block lock, the writing typically goes to the light side. Well, depending on where you've pressed your seam, but I try to press to the dark side, so then the writing is always going to be on my light fabric. And then I just start by nesting this up against that seam, and you can see it just sits right against there.
In the middle. Mm-hmm.
And so then we'll just trim 2 sides to begin with. There we go. And then I like to spin this around. And now that I have this side nice and square, I can slide that down to the 4-inch mark, and then cut the other 2 sides. And so for each block, we'll need to square 4 of these.
I love that ruler.
It's great, isn't it?
Yes.
It's so nice. Do you want to try this one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. I have 2 more already squared, so we'll just square that one and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so we have those 4 done, so now we can move on to the hourglass. Okay, so let's just set these aside for now. Oh, actually one more thing. I almost forgot. We do need that center square from that same fabric.
Yes,
And so I just trimmed one of those 5-inch squares down to 4. And so that's what this is here. And so
this one in the middle.
Exactly. So I've just added that to my stack. And now we can move on to the hourglass portion of the block. And so same idea, we're going to start by cutting this in half both directions. And one cool thing I figured out by making this out of a layer cake is you actually get enough to do 2 sets of your star legs. So this one set will make two blocks of the hourglass. And so
yeah, you can use it for another block or save it for another project.
Exactly. So if we want to cut these in half both directions, here's the ruler back.
Thank you.
And we'll keep moving.
Yes. Okay. I love making half square triangles.
I know, I do
this
too.
This is my go-to block every time.
I know, me too. There's so much you can do with it, which I think is super fun. And so the first step of this is exactly like we showed you before. And so you can see here, we've drawn the line and sewn a 1/4 inch on both sides. And so just like before, we can go ahead and cut this one in half.
Okay. And then we're just gonna stack like one
Yeah,
on
so
top
then
of the other.
we'll press it and we'll stack them up.
Okay.
This one. Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
So here's just, well, it's not a tricky part, but well, you just have to check that it doesn't, well, we have to square them first.
No, you can square them at the end.
Ah, it's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. And so then we just have to look when we fold it. Oops, so we'll want to rotate that this way. Just like that. And then
so they're totally opposite.
Totally opposite.
Yeah.
And then we'll draw the line this direction. And so if you want to do that. Yeah, since we're gonna square it at the end, we might as well save us a step here in between, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, just to make sure that this matches.
Exactly. And if you want to put a pin or something in there, you can, which I've got some pins here, so we can just kind of make sure that those are
the seams match in the corners.
And when you press them, when you press your block the same way, then it'll kind of nest and lock there in between. And so just watch for that. And then same idea, we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on both sides. And flip this around and go down the other way. There we go. And if you want to trim that, I have the other one already ready to cut as well.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. And see, when you open these up, look at that. Beautiful little hourglasses. Exactly what we're looking for.
What you're looking for when putting together like all the fabrics for your quilt, I mean, you can follow the pattern.
Yeah.
But it could be also like scrappy. Like you can choose whatever you like. Just make sure you always have contrast.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our light backgrounds and everything, but try to choose between two fabrics that also pops.
Yeah, because when you're going to all this trouble, you want them to stand out. You want to be able to see the work that you've done.
Exactly.
Exactly. So if we want to press these, then we'll square these up to 4 inches as well, and then we can put our block together.
Yeah.
So then much the same as when you're trimming half square triangles, when you're using the block lock on an hourglass block like this, we're looking for that 4-inch number, and so we need to make sure that it's intersecting the seams so that we're not trimming it crooked. Does that make sense? Because we always want these seams to be going to the corners.
Okay.
And so that's what you need to watch for if you use this when trimming an hourglass. The Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer works great for hourglass blocks as well. But you can see I've cut that first side, and then again I can slide this down looking for that 4, and it's matching right in those corners. And then we can trim again. There we go. And so we'll just trim up these last few, and we'll meet you back here when that's done.
Okay, so now we're gonna put our block together.
All right.
So we start, well, I usually start with this one in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's my guide.
Very clear, right?
Very good. And then you just arrange like all the hourglasses on the sides. Well, that's how I like to start visualizing the star.
Yeah.
And then we have our corners, our half square triangles. We put them in the corners.
And the print, the dark always goes to the outside.
Because that's gonna help us make the other design, like
the diamonds.
The diamonds,
exactly. Yeah.
And also, as you see, when you have the different diamonds, they're all different.
Yeah.
Like that's like all the prints, they're never together. Like you have the 4 different prints.
Embracing the scrappiness of it.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so now we can sew this together, right?
Yeah.
And so I really like to chain piece my blocks, and so I just start picking them up like this, and we still have that diagonal seam that's running, and so it kind of nests up really nicely in that corner, which is a great way to make sure that your seam allowance is not going to lose a point, because that's what we want to keep, our star points.
Yeah. I mean, you can always pin. But,
Absolutely.
But it works. The lines help you.
Yeah. And so then I'll take these 2, and we'll just make our way down the block.
So there is a block. Here's a block. This is how the block fits in the quilt.
Yep.
The quilt is made of, it's 4 blocks by 5.
Okay.
Okay, and this one is 12 inches each block.
Exactly.
So what I wanted to do with the quilt is I wanted to be kind of like a gradient. You have you go from pinks to a little bit darker, and then the purples, and I wanted here to have like the concentration of the light in the middle. So when you make your own quilt, I mean, if you make it scrappy and you don't follow it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just my recommendation is to try to make it, to have a little bit of light here, you know?
Yeah,
so
it kind of makes it glow.
Exactly, and your eye goes right there, like
to the middle.
To the middle, exactly. Yes. And from here, was telling earlier about the half square triangles, to make them always to be different, so they have contrast in each other. So here you have like a secondary block, if you want to call it like that. The diamond in the middle. So
it's beautiful. And you use this great curve quilting, which I love when you have those angles of the block. It just really
exactly.
Yeah,
because
together.
all the blocks were, well, they're Ohio stars and they're like very sharp and geometric. So I wanted a friend of mine who did the quilt, and I asked her to do like something very organic and to have a little bit more of movement.
I love that.
To break that.
You've bound it with this beautiful dark purple from your collection.
Exactly.
And I do want to show you've pieced the back. So
yes, you have to see it.
Yeah, it's just so fun.
Yeah, it's the same fabric of the collection.
And just kind of free and fun and pieced together to make that beautiful back.
Exactly.
So thank you so much again, Stephanie, for being here and sharing your beautiful fabric and your quilt pattern with us.
I know. Thank you, Misty, for having me. This was so much fun.
I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoy making this beautiful quilt, whether you make it with fat quarters or 10-inch squares.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Misty. Thanks for watching at home. If you aren't already a part of our Missouri Star family, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you want a notification every time we release a new video. I'll see you next Monday on the newest episode of At Home.